with in terms of food. Today's subject, thank you for being here, is pan-seared chuck eye steaks. Chuck eye is amazing. I'm gonna grab one out of the fridge here. Where is it? Okay. All right, so here's the deal with chuck eye. It is the eye of the chuck roast, and everybody's probably familiar with chuck roast. It's an inexpensive cut of meat. It can be tough, so a lot of times you have to cook it really slow or slow cooker and have some secrets to cook it well. Chuck eye is the eye of that cut, and it's very tender and very delicious, and also very economical. This is actually $6.99 a pound, which is unusually high. We live in a smaller kind of rural town, so we don't have a bunch of chuck eyes coming through. The way the butcher at Priceco explained it was, you've got one chuck roast, and so it's got one chuck eye, so you have to balance it out. I got to the store the other day and they had about 6 of them, and I bought 3 because I wanted to do the right thing and leave some for somebody else. If you're in a bigger city, you're probably gonna find it easier to get chuck eye, and so here it is. That's what it looks like. And so this is less than a pound, so this is $4.54. Now, I have 2 other ones that are over here ready to prepare. I'm gonna put this back. Here's the deal. Probably the most important thing, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a crust or a sear on this chuck eye. Therefore, what we're gonna do is you're going to take your meat out of the package, you're gonna pat it dry. You're gonna season it well with salt and pepper on both sides, and then you're gonna put it back in the refrigerator so that it can chill and the salt can do its job on, I'm not exactly sure what it is, what the chemistry is. I'll figure that out for the more polished video that I'm going to do. But I think it has to do with the dryness, right? If you put a wet steak on a hot surface, you're gonna steam the meat instead of searing the meat. I think that's the rationale for it. Then, it needs to be in there for at least an hour, but it could be up to 8 hours. You can cover it with plastic wrap if you want to. I just put it in there. At least an hour, but up to 8 hours, so you could conceivably, put it in there overnight. Get ready ahead of time. But patience, not my strongest point. I like to get right to things. So I got it ready, put it in there, and went, showered and put a little makeup on and got ready to do this video and ready to go. Then you take it out of the refrigerator and you let it sit for 30 minutes. You're letting it return to room temperature. Rationales, the big thing about what I do with my cooking is I'm trying to manage my appetite. So I want to find foods that I enjoy eating, but that don't trigger my appetite and make me want to eat everything in sight. That was my problem with sugar and grain addiction. When I'm eating carnivore style, what I'm finding is, oh my goodness, my appetite is just naturally managed. I eat twice a day, and that's all I want, and then I go on and I get on with my life, which you may know all I ever really wanted to do was sing and dance and act. So here I am on YouTube, but it allows me to just get nourished and satisfied and then get on with my life. You might want to do the same thing. So speaking of getting on with things, next thing. The recipe that I found is from myrecipes.com, really great stuff, but we're doing this carnivore style. It tells you to start in olive oil. I'm gonna use bacon fat. So, I'm gonna crank it up. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, on this live one, I'm just gonna talk and kind of pseudo demonstrate and, oh, what the heck, I'm gonna go for it. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm putting it on, the flame's about on medium. And where's my spoon? Oh well, there it is. I'm gonna put in 2 tablespoons of bacon grease, which is what we keep. There it is. There's another one. I have butter here because then I'm gonna put butter in the pan later. That on the rest. Hot pads. We use the cute hot pads today. All right. So that's gonna warm up, and then this is gonna be ready to go in the pan. I told you to salt and pepper it. We're gonna warm up the pan, get that melted, and then this is gonna go in and we're gonna sear it for 3 minutes on each side. And then I've got my oven preheated to 450, and then it's gonna go in that 450 oven for about 5 minutes for medium rare. One of the things that I've noticed working with chuck eyes is, as opposed to like doing a sirloin steak or a ribeye, I have noticed that the same size chuck eye seems to take a little bit longer to cook than the same sized ribeye or New York steak. Let's leave sirloins out because they have less fat for now. As you can see, there's a nice amount of fat on this chuck eye. As opposed to a sirloin, you wouldn't see nearly as much marbling on a sirloin. The point that I'm trying to make is I have found that chuck eye takes a little bit longer than New York steak to cook, even in the same temperature pan. Make sense? So 3 minutes to sear on each side, which gets it, yeah, that makes sense. And then you go in for 5 minutes in a 450 oven. Yeah, sounds about right to me. I typically tend to just kind of like do everything in the pan. Eating for me has really modulated and modified. It's important. I enjoy it, but it isn't the big deal that it used to be, that it was all about like, oh, I need to have this amazing experience. It's like, no, I want to eat, but then I want to live. Yeah. And so I want it to taste good, but I'm not fanatic about it. So a lot of times I'll just like throw it in the pan and do my thing and move on. However, especially if you have people in your household, my husband and my son do not have the issues with food that I have. They don't have the issues with appetite that I have. So we want to make things, really as delicious as possible for them. And then of course I add all other conventional foods to it. So every once in a while I do want to do a higher level recipe that's gonna make things even better. All right, so we're warming up and we're smoking. Here we go. And it's going in the pan. There's one. And there's two. Normally I would turn on the fan at this point, but we're on video, so I'm not going to turn it on. At any rate, down it goes. We're going to do a 3-minute sear on each side. So while that 3-minute sear goes, we're at 10:38, got 2 more minutes. I would like to talk a little bit about the extraordinary effects of going carnivore. I really committed to carnivore about 3 or 4 months ago. It's been going very, very well. The new year is coming up, and typically I am the sugar freedom woman, also the cardio freedom woman. I do something in January called drop sugar, lift weight. I'm going to do that again. You may not need to go all the way to carnivore. You may just want to cut out sugar, cut out grains, cut out vegetable oils, but you're still going to eat all your above ground vegetables. You might still be eating fruit, which is what sugar freedom is. On the sugar strike, you pull out the sugars, the grains, and even the fruits. But then the ongoing sugar freedom, you put some fruit back. That might be the level that you find is really good for your ongoing good health. So that might be what you want to do in January. But for us, for me, I have just found that this carnivore, meat-based lifestyle, I call it AB keto, animal-based keto, has worked really, really well. So I'm going to soldier on and continue on into the new year. All right, let me get my tongs. Time to flip these steaks. Oh yeah. So 3 minutes on this side, and then it's going into the oven. One of the most important things I noticed this morning when I went and did my training session, intervals to warm up, and then weightlifting, and then I do some dance afterwards. One of the best things about going carnivore has been no more joint pain. I was a personal trainer for a while, and one of the things that I was dealing with is that my knees were hurting, my shoulders were hurting, and now that I've gone ahead and pulled out all of the plants, I call it plant freedom. Now that I've done that, one of the most amazing things is the exit of all of that joint pain. And then the other thing is just this enthusiasm getting up in the morning, getting out, getting going, and living life. It is December. The days are getting shorter and shorter. I do have a light box for seasonal affective disorder, but I have found that this year, I haven't needed the light box as much. My attitude has been good, just feeling really, really well. Sometimes the seasonal blues get to me. I notice sometimes in choir, we get a little edgy, but we always forgive each other, so that's really cool. But this is, I believe that this is another benefit of the carnivore lifestyle, is just no joint pain, better sleep, and certainly better mood and more optimism for life. All right, a couple more minutes. Gonna grab my gloves. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that lovely chuck eye steak in the oven. All right, so it's gonna go in the oven. I better set the timer for 5 minutes. And then when it comes out, this is the other step that's very important according to the folks at myrecipes.com, I believe. It's the basting step, and I'm just going to describe that for you in this live video. So when you're done, this is what you do. You're going to remove the skillet from the oven. You're going to tilt the skillet towards you, and then you're going to add some butter. And then you're going to spoon the mixture over the steaks for 2 minutes. So this is like the final step in your cooking. Let me show you what I've got set up here. I don't know if it's the world's greatest rack for this, but here's what you're gonna do. We're gonna pull that pan out of the oven, that cast iron skillet. We're gonna set the steaks on the rack. We're gonna add butter to the skillet. It's gonna melt right away. And then you're gonna take that butter and you're gonna just baste those steaks for 2 minutes as you wrap up the entire procedure. And according to the folks at My Recipes, that this step, the basting, and then the steak has to rest for 5 minutes as well. No matter how hungry you are, you have to let that steak rest. And you're gonna baste it, and then you're gonna cut it against the grain. And this is one of the secrets to the tenderness and the juiciness and the wonderful flavor of the steak. Of course, if you're impatient, you can just heat up your pan and sear your steak for a minute on each side, right? And then turn the flame down and then go for 5 minutes on each side and then let it rest. If I was like in a hurry and didn't want to fuss, that's what I would do. However, if you want to step it up a little bit and get that juicier, more tender steak, you're going to do that final step where you're going to baste, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then slice it against the grain. So that's it for this live video. I really appreciate the folks who have watched and have tuned in. And once again, thank you, 2,000 subscribers. And please like, share, subscribe. And if you have any questions, please ask them. I really enjoy answering your questions, reading your comments, finding out how carnivore, sugar freedom, keto has been helping you. It gives me a lot of encouragement and encouragement for the other people who tune into this channel. All right, I'm Catherine Gordon for Sugar Freedom, saying take care, and I'll see you here soon in the Sugar Freedom Kitchen. We've got lots of videos, more cooking, more ways of getting off sugar, and fitness too. Thanks everybody, take care, bye-bye.